I think this is a project that you've had in mind for quite a long time, isn't it? So I was wondering if you could tell us what inspired it and what made you want to take it on now.
This I don't know. In the beginning, I wanted to make. Sorry, you asked me the question, but I prefer to watch them because otherwise, you know what I mean.
That's no problem.
Don't be offended.
Okay.
We are together French, so it's okay. So no, in the beginning, I wanted to make a film policier, as we say in French, but we say like a film noir. And then I realized that it could be more fun if I were involved in the movie. So I took an autobiographical element to make the movie, which is that my mother really married a guy in jail when I was 17 years old, and because she was working as a drama teacher, and she was also making projects in jail, and she was doing some shows of Jean Genet and everything. And then one day she told me that okay, so my stepfather was a guy who was a bank robber, you know, so. But actually it was very cool. But I couldn't go to the wedding. So maybe I made this film to say that me too, I exist, and also because I was completely, it was forbidden for a minor, you know, under 18, you can't go to a prison, even if your mommy have a marriage in jail. So that was the beginning of this thing. And because we are French and sometimes we make naturalistic chronicle, I didn't want to make a chronicle about that story. So that's why the genre of the noir was perfect for me to mix with that private element. Because the genre noir, you know, it's a very popular genre of movies because everybody loves the noir. Well, the movie is good, but you know, it's very popular and it's very, you can play with the film. And I wanted that the audience could play with my film, not just watching like the private life of the director, you know. So that's the story of the film.
Can you tell us a bit about why you decided to do it now? And like, is that something that you wanted to do a bit quite a long time ago, and then you've decided that you were kind of more prepared, or is it you?
I don't know. So no, like this is the hazard of the moment. But it took me a long time to achieve the script at a time where I was happy with it, and at the time that everything was well done, you know, when we were writing. So it took like maybe 3 or 4 years to write a script that I found good. And also because I'm French, and the second draft of the film was like not bad, but not good. And the heist scene, for example, was not like this at all. And then I have a friend who is a good and intelligent and a smart friend who told me, be careful because you're going to do a heist movie and you're French and you're going to, you take the risk to enter in competition with Michael Mann and everyone. So, but you're French, so don't enter in competition with action scenes and everything. And I said, oh, this is a good remarks. So I said to myself, I have to make a very Poitou-Charentes Michael Mann's movie. So, and then I rewrite the script. I mean, the second half of the script, mixing romantic comedy elements with the heist movie, which is, I'm very proud of the scene about the heist scene in the restaurant during we are pretending to be in love and with the robbery of the caviar, because I found it more original than just like a question of, sometimes, you know, heist movie and action movie can be a deluge, an inflation of masculine hormones, you know, and I think it's well balanced between the hormones are regulated, and even if I don't look like a hormonal guy, I can be like very hormonal and I laugh because they told me just 5 minutes ago, we are going to film the conversation, so everybody knows now that if you want to speak, you are recorded, and with the video. And I said a bad thing about my people, the French guy. So I don't know. Let's talk with the editor after the.
And for the. So please welcome Louis Garrel to the stage now. And for this specific project, you worked with two screenwriters who I believe you hadn't worked with before, so Naila Guigué and Tanguy Viel. Could you tell us a little bit, and you also got the César Award, which is the French equivalent to the BAFTAs for the best screenplay, so congratulations on that. So how did you...
Yes, but we get like 11 nominations and we get only 2 Caesar, so I was very pissed off. But okay, thank you for this.
11 nominations. So how did you work together? What did you feel they brought to the project?
No, the Tanguy Viel is a writer, really known because he's what I can say is like an existential writer of polar, of noir. It's very strange. And he never wrote a screenplay before. And I like the fact that he's an amateur. Because as says Jean Renoir, we have to say amateur. And it's good also to have somebody who doesn't know like the rules sometimes, because it's better. And then we worked together, and his dialogues sometimes were too complicated, but I liked it also. And after Naila, she's much younger than us, and then she arrived after 2 or 3 years, and she was really good at erase all the machist dialogues. She said, but what are you? And I didn't realize myself that the dialogues were a little bit machist, but sometimes she was erasing it. And we worked so much with her, not only about Clémence, but it was only, we worked a lot about the character of Noémie Merlant, Clémence, to have this, because I liked the fact that the 2 feminine characters were stronger, more wild, more audacious, more adventurous than the 2 guys. Because normally in a noir movie, you know, the cowboys are the men, you know, the more brave and the more courageous. But on that film, I wanted that the women were more cowboys than the guys, you know. And, voilà. No, I discovered that long after the beginning of the script. And when I found that, I think it was like a good also, it was a good, because usually, I mean, you don't know us very well because you're English and everything, but in France, maybe, you know, Rochdi, Anouk, Noémie, and I, people know, you know, they know each other. And it's always, when you start a movie, even as a director or as an actor, when you work with actor quite famous, it's also very stressful to know if the audience are going to believe the story. Are they going to believe that Noémie Merlant is Clémence? Are they going to believe that Louis Isabelle is working in an aquarium? And I'm always thinking about that, you know, that problem with actors who already worked before. And this little game that I propose to you, like to see an actor who is pretending to be a character, who is pretending to be an actor, I mean, it's a game that it's also very honest, and, you know, it's very, if I would be pretentious, like a Brechtian play, but I'm not pretentious, so just a joyful play. But it also helps to solve that kind of problems. And also because it's just funny, because comment on dit dupe?
In which context, sorry?
Bah là, comme ça, que je dis personne n'est dupe. Ça veut dire que...
No one's naive.
No one is naive. Are you sure about that? Okay, you're not naive and everything, but I wanted all the time that you reminded that you're watching a movie and you accept to play with the movie. And this also, I built the script thinking that my 4 characters has to be solid and very charming and also very moving. This way, you could follow the situations even when they are not completely credible. Sometimes it's easy, you know, to translate the word. Sometimes
Believable, you can say.
Believable. Because and so this is not a right answer, but it's this is, as Nicolas Sarkozy said, this is my answer. You know. Oh, once Nicolas Sarkozy said something, I was pretty impressed, because he was entering a journalist, and after the journalist said, "But this was not my question, and he said, "It was not your question, but this is my answer." And I said, "Smart." and you, come on. There is another answer fantastic of Jean-Luc Godard. You know that? Comment on dit? Si vous m'avez compris, c'est que je me suis mal exprimé. Comment on dit?
If you've understood me, it's because I've not expressed myself very
Okay.
well.
If you understood me, it's because I didn't express myself very well. He said that, Jean-Luc Godard. You want me to do it?
For sure.
Shit. But I ate like 4 parts of pizza at the BFI. And you know how they are, the pizza. Like the mozzarella, it's not Italian, it's Hungarian mozzarella. Okay? You know why I'm doing it? Because since the age of 12, this is the only hip-hop movement that I know to do. I really have to talk with the editor. Huh? Shit. Only 2 waves, okay?
Bravo, bravo.
Voilà. I know. You thought that I had a stuntman, huh? I think I am pretty the same. In terms of, I had like a father and a mother who experienced many limitless, life about drugs and about. So maybe I felt also that I had to be maybe more the Général de Gaulle, the general, more straight and more conservative and petit bourgeois, and because I needed to control the descendants or something like this, to control about, I was a little bit the father. With my father, it's different. Now it becomes like I start to become a little bit his father also. So about some conversation that we have on modernity, and also with my mother, it was a bit like this too. So I was trying to control all the catastrophes that I was scared about, in the life of my mother, for sure. But at the same time, I knew that she was wild and fantastic, but she scared me so many times, and so I had to be strong and full of reason with her. Voilà. But I can be really pissed off with people, because I'm scared. The last experience with the COVID, when the COVID started in Italy, and I think I was calling all my family, and I said, "Where are you on the coffee? Can you go back at home, please, and lock the door and everything but maybe 3 months before the lockdown." So it was very annoying, and now I'm like this. I'm very anxious. Yes. Strangely, I was more inspired, like aesthetically, by the film of the 80s, French film of the 80s. Not only French film, also De Palma in the 80s, and this kind of kitsch moment of the cinema. For example, we tried to do a test with the camera because I wanted to shoot the movie with la pellicule. How do you say la pellicule?
Film.
A film. Yeah, I wanted to shoot on film, and then the DOP didn't want to because it was much more digital and everything. And I said, let's do a test. And then where we shot in film, I think he screwed up intentionally and then I said, okay, but give me not a digital, naturalistic image. I mean, I want like a big épais, comment on dit épais?
Thick.
Thick, you know, I want a thick image. So he worked before with the guy who is making what étalonneur, the sound, the follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then so he worked, and I said, be punk. I mean, try to do strong colors and strong contrast all the time. Don't give me the natural King Digital. You know what I mean? And because I needed to for the tail, you know, also, and for the derealization, because I was super anxious about making a movie naturalistic. I wanted to escape the naturalism so bad that I was, and also that was the same with the set decorator. The set decorator is Jean Rabas, and I know his taste, so I was following him, but the DOP, I was on his shoulders, and then he understood, but so we were like this. And we shot in Lyon also, and it was much easier than shooting in Paris for me, because when I shoot in Paris, I'm always super shy to shoot the Eiffel Tower or the most cinematic places in Paris, because it's touristic, and I know them, and I would find it ridiculous to shoot the Eiffel Tower. You know, I'm a Parisian. But when I'm in Lyon, I did not know Lyon. So every time that I was seeing like a touristic place, that was not a touristic place for me. It was like a fantastic fairy tale set for the film. And it was much more, I felt more free to choose a cinematic set like this, you know. And it was the same. So every set has to be merveilleux, marvelous, as we say, because I didn't want this. The only decor, the set that I don't like, is when I'm behind, you know, my car, like watching my stepfather when Noémie Merlant is screaming. This is the only one who is a bit sad, the set, but the decoration and everything. But otherwise, all the others sets are very, I think, théâtral, on pourrait dire, like in a studio. This is the same, you know, for the flowers shop. This is another inspiration, very strange, but I'm crazy about Uncut Gems by the Safdie brothers. And if you remember the shop where they sell the diamonds and everything, the walls are all pink. And I said to Jean Rabas, the set decorator, I want the wall pink, like in Uncut Gems. And after, strangely, it reminded us Jacques Demy, you know, the set. But how to start with the Safdie brothers and ending with Jacques Demy is very strange. But this is and all of the set or the light of the decoration has to be in the same way, you know, no naturalism. Strangely, it was more the spirit of the Italian cinema in the 60s and the 70s, where they are capable of making a funny, absurdly funny scene, and just after, like a tragic scene for the character. Like Dino Risi, for example, or Monicelli. I was thinking about this kind of spirit, because when I was afraid of making that scene too much ridiculous, and I knew that the scene after was very tragic or more, you know, I was thinking about the Italian cinema. I said, but no, they do it all the time, because this is a human way. This is the best human way of telling a story, from my point of view. And not only the directors, even the actors. Alberto Sordi, for example, you know, he doesn't sacrifice the truth of a human being ridiculous in one scene, and being completely. And all of this bunch of Italian actors are like this. Even today, you know, Tony Servillo, for example, is like this also. You know, I'm full of admiration for the Italians. The Italians' way of being also, not making cinema, but the way of being, the way they are. I would love to be an Italian guy. You know what? Orson Welles once said that. You know, he said that the Italians, they are people of actors, full of actors, and it's true. You know, when you are in the street talking with the Italian, you know, they dramatize everything, and they make a tragic the story of a cat who is dead. I mean, you laugh, and you say, but the cat is dead. Yeah, but you know, veramente, allora c'est comme ça. The Italian. No, because it reminds me like a joke about the. You don't know that joke, the Italian joke? Okay, I'm gonna try. Maybe it's a big failure. Okay, I don't care. Okay, so he has one cat, and he has to go in holidays, And then he calls his brother and he said, "Can you keep my cat for 2 weeks during my holidays?" He said, "No problem, you know, I'm your brother. Yeah, I take the cat and everything." So he goes on holidays, he come back, he go in his apartment with the brother, he said, "Oh, how are you? It was fine with the apartment. Everything was right. And my cat, he's dead." He said, "What do you mean he's dead?" The cat is dead, he's not living anymore." And the guy said, "But you're so rude and brutal." But he said, what can I say? "I don't know. You start to explain me what you do with the cat. For example, the cat was walking and it was eating, and after you tell me the thing, but whatever. It's life. And how's Mama?" And he said, "Well, Mama was walking and." Voilà.
Well,
So I was thinking about the Italians making the movie. And also, you know why? Because I'm super afraid about being boring in general, or taking in hostage the audience with a story unbreathable. And Jean-Claude Carrière, a famous scriptwriter, a legend, you know, I worked with him and I was a friend with him. And once he told me one sentence that I never forgot. He told me, "Louis, if you can make the people laughing, you open the doors in them much better than if you don't make them laugh." And he knew his chicken, you know, because he worked with Pierre Etex, and he also worked with Jacques Tati. And it's so true that if you make people laugh, I mean, like Goldoni, you know, Carlo Goldoni, even each 6 or 7 minutes there is a gag, you know, it's a comic, because you're waiting. Everybody is dying to laugh, you know, in general. So they can accept to have like a tragic moment and everything, because they know that they're gonna laugh after. Voilà.
On that note, thank you very much, you guys, for
Thank you
being
very
here.